Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Scaling AI in Elementary Education from Introduction to Transformation. We are at Orchard View Elementary in Frederick County, Virginia. My name is Thea Clark, and I am the Instructional Technology Coach for Orchard View Elementary School. I have been in this role for 12 years, and this is my 21st year in elementary public education.
I'm Savory. I'm the art teacher here at Orchard View. This is year 9 for me.
I'm Emily Turner. I'm a 3rd grade teacher here at Orchard View, and this is my 5th year.
So our goals for this session is to tell our story from the spark and where we are, and then provide some useful applications. So we are here. It all started with our new building principal, Mike Dodaris. He joined Orchard View this past summer as our new principal of the building, and he is a very visionary leader and has huge goals for the building moving forward. And one of his goals, he approached me very early on, is that he had access to an AI pilot that he had connections with the company, and they were going to give us access to the product to for us to pilot and test it out and provide feedback back to the company. And we'll talk more about that. But even though for most of our journey, we are using a paid product,
This meeting is being recorded.
you can do the same thing in any AI tool. We are going to be using just a large language model AI. So you're not tied into having to use a specific product with what we're going to share with you. So Mike and I sat down and we mapped out a plan. So he was key in really being supportive in kicking this off. So the plan was we were going to introduce the AI to the entire staff, classified staff, licensed staff, everybody. Anybody was welcome to join the pilot. The agreement that teachers made if they were joining the pilot is that they had to attend either AI drop-in sessions or have one-on-one sessions, and also participate in check-ins. So the introduction to the staff went very well, and we had 30 people initially sign up to become a part of the pilot. And then we started AI drop-in sessions once a month. The sessions were structured so that we would start by getting a little bit of professional development about how AI works and some do's and don'ts of using AI. Then the rest of the session would be share time of what are you doing with the AI tools, how is it working for you? And these were quick. They were only scheduled for 30 minutes so that it was like the time was used well and wasn't drug out. At first, we had a lot of people attending the AI sessions, but then it started to trickle off a little bit, and you'll hear from my two dedicated colleagues who were very dedicated to the process. Throughout the check-ins, people would respond, and like early on, some people hadn't even attempted to log in yet, and some people were already like, I'm rocking and rolling. Then word began to spread about, oh, Orchard View teachers are using this AI tool. Let's hear more about it. And then people at the school board office, district leaders started to hear what we were doing, and district leaders wanted to know more about it and if it would be beneficial to their role. So those one-on-one sessions and the check-ins and drop-ins quickly turned into having a Google Meet link so that various people across the division could join those sessions, get some AI PD, and then also hear what kinds of things we were doing. So the tools that we use in Axio is the paid product that Mike had access to. So he worked with them to get our own guardrail piece of Axio that we can use. And then we are a Google for Schools division, so we also have access to Gemini and Notebook LM. So these are 3 most popular tools that we have been using. And these two ladies, Jill from Art and Emily, really took off with their use of the AI tool. And word was quickly spreading about all of the things that they were able to do. So I'm going to let you tell their story.
So again, I'm Emily, I'm a third grade teacher, and AI, I really just started using it this year. I'd heard about it in the past, but Thea was the one who brought it to me. And me and Jill have been working on it as well. But if you ask any teacher what they need, a lot of the times it's gonna be time. Time is the #1 need for teachers, and I have found that AI allows me to save a lot of time on the background. And time, yes, but as much energy and brain power. AI saves a lot of brain power because I use it a lot for breaking down standards, for making sure I have a strong understanding of everything the students need to know, because I don't know about if you have different state standards, but ours can be a little tricky to make sure you understand all the aspects. I also use it for a lot of repetitive tasks, like I have vocabulary quizzes I give each week. Instead of using my brain to think of them and make them up each week, which would take, 10 minutes, I can plug in vocab words, tell them what grade level, and it spits it out for me in about 1 minute, which saves me a lot of time.
Emily, can I talk about the standards real quick? So in Virginia, we are not a Common Core state. We have our own set of Virginia standards that we have to use, which makes it challenging sometimes, especially because many of our textbooks that we adopt, there are very few companies that are writing Virginia-specific textbooks. So that's what Emily means when she's talking about our standards for Virginia.
Yes. And a lot for differentiation. So differentiation is a big tool, is a big thing I use AI for as well. My class, being third graders, we're very high energy, and I have a lot of extra high energy students as well. And so I ask Gemini or Axio, whoever I'm talking to. Usually, actually, I will ask multiple AIs, and I would encourage you to do the same if you start dabbling, or if you haven't yet, to see which one gives you a better output. But I need some ideas about math. We're working on time, and I have students that struggle with keeping their bodies calm and safe in their areas. What are some ways that they can move their bodies while learning time and things like that? And it really allows me to think of things that I'd never be able to think of beforehand. Yes. Yes, and thank you. Utterly, the most important part that I think I've come to this year. So I told you guys it's my 5th year teaching, and this year, this group of kids, I feel like I know them more personally and at a better understanding of them as individuals than I have in the past 4 classes I've had, and I really give a lot of that credit to AI, and it takes the time away and it takes the brain power away. If I'm teaching a lesson, and teachers here, you might also know that you're teaching, but your brain is 5 hours ahead of you, or 1 hour even, 20 minutes, what's next, what's next, what's next? Knowing that I have Gemini or Axio at my hands, and after school it won't take me 3 hours to get ready for the next day, allows me to be present and in the moment with the students more than I would have been in previous years.
Sure, you're right. And the beeps.
Yes. So 2 big things I've used. I used AI to do a PEEP project this year. I was inspired by a video on social media using PEEPs to be more responsible. But in 3rd grade, we also have to learn about money. So I actually plugged in AI, and I can't actually tell you. But I've been using Gemini for it, and I asked for a way to tie responsibility in with PEEPs and money and make it engaging, make it fun. And it gave me a full lesson plan that obviously you vet, you go through, you vet, you humanize it. You always have to humanize it. It's not just copy, paste, copy, paste. I don't want anyone to think that's what I'm doing. I'm not. But the PEEP activity, it ended up being about responsibility. It ended up writing the lesson plan, giving me objectives, aligning it to standards. It provided me with documents and ledgers, responsibility cards. It made the entire project almost for me. I had the idea, it made it a possibility. A lot of times I feel like I'm a big thinking teacher and I have these great big ideas and then I sit down and I go, oh my goodness, this is gonna take me a million years. How am I gonna break down all these little parts? AI breaks down the parts for me. And it puts it in a way that I can understand. And it makes it more fun.
All right, I'm Jill Savory. I'm the art teacher here at Orchard View, and while I love teaching art, one of my big passions is integrating content. And for all of us educators out there, we know that when you create more connections within schema, you create more opportunities for transfer of information, and so the more concepts that we can tie to a big idea or schema, the stronger the recall is going to be when kids are trying to pull things out of their long-term memory. And the arts have a really special place in doing that, and so does movement and play. And so especially at the elementary age, those things kids are still willing to do, and I'm really big into trying to make that a reality. And in our context, I don't have the opportunity to attend grade level planning with content teachers because I have their students when they have planning. So unless I don't want to see their students that week, then I cannot attend their grade level planning. So it makes collaboration to create integrated lessons extremely hard, even when there is a willingness. So while we want our kids to understand that all of these things are connected in the real world and content isn't separated, making that happen in school in the schedules that we are required to have, instructional minutes that we're required to provide to students, it's really hard. You're trying to like work within all of these boundaries. But AI has made it possible for me to create integrated art lessons with content integration, a reality, because it has been like a professional learning tool for me. I'm able to kind of understand grade level content that I don't teach, and it allows me a brainstorm where it says, okay, you have this art standard, you have this social studies standard, how can these things tie together? Can you go to the next one? Thank you. So for professional knowledge, I feel like I've learned a lot more about grade level content, which is really helpful. So it helps fill the gaps for me. And when I am talking to grade level teachers who do not have the time to talk to me about how we can like do an art lesson together, if I approach them with an idea, with a fleshed out lesson and say, hey, when you do like the ancient civilization of Mali, here's a lesson plan. This is how I can support your content in an authentic way. Then we can have a more productive conversation. And using AI really can jumpstart your thinking on like, okay, I have these two separate topics and I want to see how they fit together. And it allows you to start thinking about how that can happen. And you might not use any of the ideas that AI gives you, but it's just like a brainstorming tool. It has also helped me a ton with planning time. When I'm writing art lesson plans, it's not just a lesson, it's a whole unit because I only see the kids 45 minutes a week. So we have to have like at least 3 or 4 weeks of lessons within the unit, and I can plug in like, hey, I want you to be an expert elementary visual arts teacher, and we are going to focus on the concept of ancient Mali and these art standards. And then I just copy and paste art standards, I copy and paste social studies standards from 3rd grade, and then it will dump out an entire unit plan, and like on day 1, this is what you do. On day 2, this is what you do. Here's formative assessments. Here's a summative assessment. And it really makes it feel like, okay, sitting down and writing the lesson isn't going to take me a million years to flesh out this 3 to 4 week project. It's going to do it for me, and then I can just go in and make it my own. It streamlines alignment with multiple learning objectives. It can even break the standards down into like KUD format, which is really helpful. And it also helps me like branch out to different forms of assessment. The Mali example I keep talking about, I did that today. And the way that it broke the lesson down, I don't create worksheets very often because art teacher, but the way that it broke down the information, I was like, oh my gosh, I could create a worksheet, and they could be brainstorming and showing all of these different things on this worksheet because of the way that, so it made me think differently outside of my traditional like art teacher training. And I've also used AI this year to create rubrics that I use with students for their self-assessment, and then I use those same rubrics for grading. So it's made my teaching really transparent and helps students improve things like craftsmanship is the thing that I've been tracking. So their craftsmanship has improved way more this year than prior years where I wasn't using rubrics. There is no way that I could have ever written all rubrics for all of the lessons that I've done because it takes so long. But AI allows me to just pump that rubric out, and Gemini allows you to just export it into a table. So it makes it possible to do the rubrics, which is a big deal. So here are some of the things that I have done with the help of AI. With a lot of this is 3rd grade. Simple machines in art, ancient civilizations and Mexican folk art. I focused on ancient Mesoamerica, and we talked about what an ancient civilization is to like front load some of their social studies stuff. With 4th grade, they talk a lot about Jamestown cultures and like the cultures that fed into Jamestown and made Jamestown culture what it was. So we talked about what is culture. We focused on poetry, and they're making these little culture jars. That was an idea that I found somewhere else online. So we took all of these separate things and put them together in a really meaningful way. With kindergarten, we did colored light and rainbows, and I've taught that lesson a million times, but with AI, I was able to see it differently, and the kids made way more classroom connections. So some of the tips for success from me are reprompt the AI. Like if you are like, oh my gosh, this is horrible, I'm not getting the results I want. I wanted it to make a rubric and it didn't. Well, then you have to like reprompt it. It's like talking to another person. Like if they're not giving you what you want, you have to say, no, wait, I meant, and then providing examples when you reprompt it is really helpful. So when I'm writing rubrics, often it's like, this is not student-friendly language. And then I have to reprompt it to say, please write this in student-friendly language, and then it will redo it. Or I can say, I want 4 levels of performance and not 3. And just like Emily said, AI is the starting point. It's like the power tool that makes all the work easier. It's not the end product. It just is kind of like that boost in Mario Kart when you hold down the button, when it's like 3, 2, then you hold down the button. That's kind of what AI feels like to me. It makes foggy ideas clear. It gives you like that gas in your engine to get you going.
So they have done some amazing things, and now I'm going to share some of the PD things that we did in those drop-in sessions. As Emily mentioned, keeping the human at the center of the tool is really key. So that's why every session we always brought up making sure that you are using your brain and thinking critically. And like Emily said, I can't just take verbatim from the AI tool and copy, paste, boom, go. You have to be careful. There's a lot of misinformation. because of course there's misinformation on the internet, and that's what's being used as the training model. Hallucinations, if you're not aware, AI always wants to give you a response. The AI tools don't want to say, sorry, I can't help you. So if they don't have an answer, they will just make it up. So if you dive in heavily into AI work, you will start to see that term hallucination pop up. And that's simply when the AI just makes up the information. Of course, with these large language models, there's only so much data that's pumped into them for their training. So it's not the end all be all. We also have to think about, like, is this a Google question or is this like an AI solution? So like if I am not sure how much Tylenol to give my child, I'm not gonna ask AI how to do that. That's a Google question. So we have to make sure we're separating the two. Of course, we've all heard about deep fakes and people manipulating, using AI to manipulate information and impersonate. This is a big one, privacy concerns. We actually met the other week with our superintendent about what we're doing, and he shared with us that as a division superintendent, privacy concerns are his biggest worry. And so we always remind everyone to just be very careful with what you're putting into. Like when Emily shared her, she was trying to figure out how to handle her group of rowdy boys that she has. She's not putting in student names. She's not even putting in that I teach in Virginia, or this is my school. So we're being very cautious, even though with Gemini and Axio, we have our own space that this information we prompt is not going out to other large language models. We still are extra cautious with what we're putting into it. Of course, there's always unintended consequences, that something, you hear a breaking news about something with AI, that was not the original intent. So again, we have to be thinking. AI outputs currently are very biased. When you think about the people who are creating them, they're making the AI tool look like themselves. And this is coming up a lot, and I'm starting to get a lot of questions from teachers about this intellectual property infringement. So like, how do we cite when we use AI? Who owns the information put in there? So these are all things that we have to be making sure that we're thinking about when we're using the AI tools. They both brought up prompting, and we'll show you an example here in a minute, but the people who quickly dropped off of the pilot, this was one of their frustrations, learning how to prompt. If you are in the habit of using tools like Magic School or Diffit, they are doing all of the prompt thinking for you. When you're using these large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, Axio, Gemini, whatever is your go-to tool of choice, knowing how to prompt to get what you want is important. So you have to ask it in a smart way. They talked about how they have used AI for all of these things. For me in my role, communication is really important. I'm a big get the email and want to fire back at the hip. So I use it a lot for like, how can you help me professionally respond to this email, leaving out, and I will tell it, like, I am feeling very angry or frustrated by this situation. How can you help me professionally respond to the situation? And then I'll copy and paste the email and it will give me a response. And then like Jill said, reprompting. I asked it Wednesday for how to reply to a parent email. And it's like, I have a relationship with this parent and the email was like very professional. And I was like, okay, like this, but can you tone it down and make it more user-friendly language? AI tools can be used for translation, and then of course, creation and helping us solve problems. One of our instructional aids, of course, our instructional aid has to cover lunch duty. Not envious of having to help 100 first graders get through lunch. But so of course behavior and things like that are always a problem. So one of our instructional aides used Axio to help us come up with some plans to eliminate some of the problems that we're seeing in the cafeteria. So the key to this is tell the AI tool what role you want it to take on. Like, who do you need the AI tool to be for this instance? The second one is then, who is your audience? And last, the topic. And the more specific you are with the topic, the better response you will get. And again, keep prompting. Like, if it doesn't give you exactly what you want, like, have a conversation with it. And Emily shared, we're all three of us are in the habit at this point of we try Axio and Gemini and compare what we're getting. My biggest tip for this is to just practice. Just practice, and then now all three of us are to the point where our brains just think in this prompt engineering way when we start to prompt. So we will give you a little prompt demonstration. I'm going to pull up Gemini for us because it's quick and easy to get to. All right, girls, give me a prompt.
I can tell you what I did before.
Okay.
So I said, be an expert elementary visual art educator and create a 3-session art unit about the art of ancient Mali, focusing on mud cloth.
I can take that.
Type faster, Thea. Don't know what to tell you. So be an expert visual arts educator or teacher. Create a 3-session art unit about the art of ancient Mali, focusing on mud cloth.
What grade students?
3rd grade in the state of Virginia. I gave it specific standards. You want me to tell you the specific standards?
Oh no, let's just see what happens.
Okay.
But like normally we would paste the specific art standards. If you are using an AI tool for lesson planning, you have to tell it how long you want the unit to be, especially if you gave it a lot. Because I'll find a lot of times it'll be like, here's a 6-week unit. And I'm like, okay, no, I don't have 6 weeks to teach this. Can you condense this down into just 5 lessons? Or since we paste whole standards in there, the AI tool will make sure it's addressing each piece of the standard. So I have learned that I have to just really pare down and paste. So you can see here it gave us, this is similar to what it gave you.
Yeah, a little bit. I put in the actual standards, so it was a little bit more aligned, but generally, yes. And typically when it gives me lesson stuff, it will, like, that is probably too much or too little. Like, you have to go back and kind of refine. But this gives you a breakdown of a possible idea, which is helpful. And since these are 3rd graders, they need to do something. We can't just talk the whole first session. So, like, we could, like, move it around, and this is where the human part comes in. But now I don't have to think about all of these things. I can say, oh yeah, this is a good idea, and then mush it around.
Right. And we could go back and we could ask this, could you write this in the I do, you do, we do format? Could you include more ideas? It automatically, Gemini usually does, automatically include some differentiation things, but like you can ask it, can you help me think through differentiating for EL students? Can you help me think through students with disabilities? So always use this as a starting point. And this is where our teachers who kind of left us on the pilot is because they were like, well, that's not really what I want. And so they would just get frustrated and leave the tool. So we can now, and then like Jill mentioned with the rubrics, once we get this and we prompt Gemini enough to be what we want, we can then say, now can you use this and make a rubric? And then it can spit out. And then the nice thing, if you're Google, you can just share it out right into Google Docs or draft in an email. And if you ask it to make a table, it'll change this to Google Sheets. That is also one of the frustrations of people when they were using Axio, is when you copy and paste things out of Axio, you have to do a lot of reformatting of it to make it look usable. Gemini is very friendly for making things look nice when you copy and paste it out of the AI tool. All right, we're almost out of time. So some resources that I have used a lot that kind of jump-started my journey. When Mike asked me to take this AI journey, I had stayed away from AI. I hadn't started using it. It was something that was not going to be part of my wheelhouse. Computer science and STEM education are typically, that's what my wheelhouse is, and that's where I spend most of my professional energy. So when Mike asked me about this, I was like, you know, what did you tell your principal? No. So I myself had to get caught up for AI, my own AI education. So I just started soaking up everything that I could find. But these two resources are great. Digital Promise just has resources, but then it also is a place for like research and backgrounds. Like if you're one of those people who really want to understand how something is working, Digital Promise is a great place. And AI for Education is fabulous. They have a prompt library, so that could be a place for you to go to start learning how and getting your brain thinking about prompts. And they have them for if you're a leader, if you're trying to design a lesson, if you're trying to craft parent communication, and you can simply take their prompt, copy it from the library, paste it into, you can change it, like the example might be an English content example, you can change it to be a social studies content example, and it is really great. It also has lots of resources for you that you, if you are in the secondary world, that's one thing we didn't mention. We are elementary teachers, so we are not in a place, we do not have the burden of having to worry about our students using AI themselves. This is all us educators driving and using the AI tools. But if you do teach secondary students here in the United States, students younger than 13, we have a limit on what they're allowed to access. And so AI for them is a no-no. But there are lots of resources for if students are using AI, you can visit those at AI for Education. And last, I don't know, is the chat turned on? Are people allowed to chat?
I don't know. No one has said anything. I've been looking.
Okay. So here are our email addresses. Thank you for taking time out of your day, and it's Friday. So thank you for joining us. Please feel free here, all three of our email addresses. Please feel free to reach out with any questions that you have. We are happy to support you in your journey, and all three of us love sharing ideas with educators to grow our own brains. So feel free to reach out. And that is our time. Thank you so much for joining us today, everybody.